Welcome to the Golden Playbook. Today we are over on DraftKings drafting an early best ball team. If you've been watching my channel, or at least my recent few videos, you've seen us doing some of these DraftKings drafts. If you yourself are wanting to draft some fantasy teams with real money at stake, head on over to DraftKings. They have contests as cheap as $1. In fact, that's what we are doing today. A little $1 contest, and it is a big time for these off-season early best ball. With the combine this week, a lot of rookies are going to be moving up and down the draft boards. So if you have guys you have good feelings on, good leans on, and you can draft them now as opposed to after the combine when they shoot up in rankings, go ahead and hop over to DraftKings to do so. Today we are going to try a hero RB build. This has kind of been a consensus top build, not only in best ball, but just in regular redraft fantasy as well. So we are going to put it to the test on our DraftKings draft here, with it being PPR, and you have to start 3 wide receivers. In theory, that makes wide receiver pretty valuable. But with that being said, we don't want to, disregard running back at all costs. So we are going to grab one of the top studs here at 6, probably McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor, and then we will wait a good while to grab our RB2. In the meantime, we'd be loading up on wide receiver, perhaps grab ourselves an early QB or tight end. And we are out of the 6 slot. We'll see you in a couple picks. All right, and we are just about on the clock, and a fairly chalky first 5 picks, which sets us up perfectly to grab Christian McCaffrey, who is a perfect hero RB, especially on a PPR site. We know he is going to catch a ton of passes. So that is pretty much ideal situation there. Grabbing McCaffrey in the first, we'll either grab probably Bowers or a top flight wide receiver in the second, and we will perfectly execute this hero RB build. All right, first round went Taylor, James Cook, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Trey McBride, Amarian Hampton, and Jeremiah Love there at the turn. Very youthful start for Flacco off there. Jeremiah Love's a guy I don't really expect to move up or down from the combine. However, if he lands in a good spot in the draft, the Chiefs per se, then that's probably where he'll go, if not even a little bit earlier than that. The guy in the 10 slot getting a Lamb A-chain start seems pretty nice. Also, a St. Brown Genty start feels pretty good there. That's why I've been liking that kind of 9 through 12, that back half of the draft. I've been liking that because I feel like you can get 2 really, really solid players, especially on DraftKings. So Barkley goes, and then Jefferson goes, unfortunately. Would have loved Jefferson here. I've been grabbing a lot of Bowers in this spot, so I'm going to switch it up and grab Malik Neighbors, who is coming off the ACL. However, I saw that he's working with the physical therapist that worked with Christian Watson and Stephon Diggs last year, and we know just how good those guys were coming off of injury. So I'm more and more bullish on Malik Neighbors returning from that injury in a strong fashion. Other guys I saw working with that therapist, Tank Dell, Jonathan Brooks. So those are some later guys coming off of injury that I am a little bullish on, just because we saw the results on players from last season that this guy had good results with. So I am back in on Malik Neighbors. There is talk that he might start the season on the PUP list, which would mean he'd miss the first 4 games, in which case this would be, obviously clearly a bad draft pick. He would be more in the middle of the 3rd round probably. But I'm going to assume, at least at this point in the season, that he is going to be ready for week 1, at least in a ramp-up fashion. Obviously, if we get word that he's going to be on the PUP, gonna have to move him down the rankings, and this is a bad pick. All right, after Neighbors, it goes Bowers, Chase Brown, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, George Pickens, Chris Olave, Josh Allen. This would have been a great Josh Allen team. Going hero RB, you want to be strong at those other positions. After Allen, Kenneth Walker and Rashee Rice there, still hanging in that mid-3rd round. We'll see if he continues to fall or not. Got 1 pick until we are up. This is a nice little pocket of running backs that pretty much always go in this range. So typically I've been starting 2 running backs, wide receivers when I'm in the middle of the draft, grabbing one of these guys. But for today's exercise, we are going to grab To be honest, I don't have a lot of T or Tet McMillan. I'm going to grab T. Higgins because he's been kind of one of my guys. But like I said, I've been grabbing the running backs in that range, which is leaving me definitely light on T. Higgins and Tetaroa McMillan, which I really don't feel that bad about. I feel like these are steep prices for one, Higgins, who's the wide receiver 2 on his team. Obviously, he's shown he can produce. And then Tetaroa McMillan, obviously, quarterback concerns, overall offense concerns. So definitely some question marks on each guy. They're not as safe of picks as, a Josh Jacobs or a Bucky Irving, at least in my opinion. But for today's Hero RB build, we are starting McCaffrey, Neighbors, T. Higgins. All right, after T goes Jacobs, Irving, Kyron Williams, A.J. Brown, Travis Etienne Jr., Garrett Wilson, Colston Loveland, who would have been a nice addition to this team, Javonte, who's steadily risen since the contract extension, Zay Flowers, Tetaroa McMillan, okay. Jamison Williams there. We got one pick till we're up. We're going to have a nice little slide here of either Adams or McConkey. I don't have a ton of either of these guys. I've been taking a lot of Devonta Smith in this range to pair up with Jalen Hurts, who is my most drafted quarterback. I just think he's undervalued. But let's do the Devontae Adams thing. I expect him to be back with LA. I expect them just to run, the band back together, Stafford, Puka, Devontae Adams, and just to continue to be an offensive attack. So very solid Hero RB start through 4 rounds here. We'll see either 5th or 6th round about grabbing our first quarterback, perhaps a Jalen Hurts or one of those higher upside QBs. I don't really want to reach on Burrow. Let's see, Burrow's ADP is at 52, which just feels too high for me as a guy who doesn't really rush the football. So if he's there at 54, we might pull the trigger, but we might just wait till the 6th round. All right, after Devontae, it went Scadaboo, Judkins, Lamar, Emeka Ibuka, Parker Washington, and the Parker Washington price just makes no sense in my opinion. Don't get the Parker Washington price tag right now. DeAndre Swift, RJ Harvey, Devonta Smith, and then Burrow does go to the Jamar Chase drafter, so we don't have to make that decision. We will likely be waiting until the 6th round to grab QB number 1. So we have a nice little trio of wide receivers we get to choose from here. Henderson would be a nice little RB2 if we were doing that kind of thing, but we are not. So let's go ahead and grab Luther Burden. I'm, 99% positive the Loveland or whoever drafts Rome will take Caleb. But that opens up the 1% chance that, Caleb does fall. And then also there's plenty of other QBs I like in that range. So we are totally fine. We have a Studley wide receiver room, Neighbors, Higgins, Adams, Burden, with that anchor at running back, Mr. Christian McCaffrey. All right, after Burden, it went Tate, Henderson, Sutton, and then Waddle to that 10th team. And Kickalicious is putting together a very nice Hero RB build himself. He has A-Chain for his anchor running back, and then Lamb, Brown, Flowers, Waddle, and now BTJ. That is a very, very nice anchor or Hero RB strategy. And then Caleb Williams at 59 there absolutely snipes the Loveland guy, which is a very smart move by Wahoo. He grabs Caleb knowing the Loveland guy would probably take him, and then follows it up with Rome in the 6th. Daniels and Lemon at the turn. Warren, Jalen Hurts does go 2 picks ahead of us to the Barkley team. So let's see. We could slurp up a little Dipperino on Christian Watson if he doesn't get drafted here, and he doesn't. The top QB is Drake May, who doesn't really do it for me. So let's go ahead and grab wide receiver number 5, following Kickalicious footsteps. Although, unfortunately, I'd like to admit he probably has the nicer looking Hero RB team. And then we will follow it up almost certainly with a quarterback here in the 7th round. Any of these guys in this range are totally fine, even if they're not stacked. Could grab Stafford a little early, but yeah, good one running back, 5 wide receiver start so far. Underdogs and Kickalicious are having very similar builds here. We'll see who can finish it off better. All right, after Watson, it goes Marv, Ramondre, Jalen Warren, Michael Wilson, Harold Fana Jr., Jackson Dart, Quentin Johnson, Drake May, Jordan Tyson. So we are 1 pick away. And as much as I want to grab a quarterback here, if Tucker Kraft falls to us, I think it makes sense to take our tight end 1 and begin a little Green Bay build and just hope that Stafford makes it around at 85 is his ADP. So it'll be tight. The Puka drafter is on my left. However, the Kyron drafter is to the right. So definitely a chancy play pushing off Stafford here. But I think it makes sense to grab our tight end 1 here. And especially since we already have a little Green Bay thing going. So we will have to see if Mr. Matthew Stafford makes it to us in the 8th. After Kraft, it went Metcalf, Prescott, Chuba, Pearsall, Alec Pierce, Mahomes, and Herbert at the turn, which makes me a little nervous for Stafford coming back. Pitts, and then Kickalicious gives in and grabs his RB2 in Kyle Monangai. So I believe we are the lone person in this draft with just 1 running back on our team so far. Dowdle goes. We have 2 picks to survive. This person already has 2 QBs. They go Myers. And let's see what AWS 333 has got up his sleeve. And it works. He goes Tony Pollard, so the gamble pays off. Tootin is a good one for a hero RB as that kind of long shot RB2. But we're going to go Stafford here, considering we already have Devontae on the squad. So we have a nice little 1 QB, 1 tight end, 1 running back, and then 5 studly wide receivers to go with. All right, we are back on the clock here. We could grab QB2. Let's see what the running back range is. Kind of a yikes running back range. I don't mind Gainwell. Let's see. We could just grab QB2. Let's go ahead and grab Jordan Love since we have the Green Bay stuff going. And then we're going to really have to dig in at running back, obviously. But we got our Green Bay stuff. We got Stafford with Adams. So now we just taken lots and lots of shots at RB to help Christian McCaffrey in that running back room. All right, and we made a very solid choice grabbing QB2. As we can see, Nix, Purdy, Mayfield, and Shuck all off the board. Lots of wide receivers as well, which is good considering we need running back help in a bad way. So we are 1 pick away. Woody Marks at the top of said running back room. Could grab, no, we don't need a second tight end in Kittle. Let's see what else. I think I like Gainwell most out of this group, although he goes right in front of us. Let's do a boring one with David Montgomery. If he stays with Detroit, that's fine. If Gibbs gets injured, he's a great premium handcuff. But Gainwell going right in front of us was probably who we would have picked there. All right, so Krosky Merritt goes, who I was thinking about. And George Kittle is still sitting here. About 13 picks past ADP. All reports are that he's going to be ready for the season. So we're going to take 2 guys coming off of pretty extreme injuries for our tight end room. Jonah Coleman was a runner up there as far as who we were going to go with, but I think Kittle value there is too strong. And of course, the Purdy team would take him before he comes back around. All right, we are next up on the clock, and we only have to survive 1 more pick, and we could get Jonah Coleman, who we were debating taking with our last pick. So that would be another nice ADP faller. 11 picks past ADP. I think both Coleman and Emmett Johnson here, the rookies, are very strong players. Also, the veterans in this range, James Conner, Alvin Kamara, probably a good bet on a hero RB squad. All right, and Jonathan Brooks goes there decently early, who, you know, is a guy I have been targeting. Do we just grab Emmett Johnson here to add to our running back room? Do we grab QB3 with Kyler Murray? Let's just double down on the rookies. Since we have the veterans McCaffrey and Montgomery, might as well double down on the rookies as well. So we've got a 2-4-5-2 going. McCaffrey, Neighbors, Higgins, Devontae Adams, Luther Burden, Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft, Matthew Stafford, Jordan Love, David Montgomery, George Kittle, Jonah Coleman, and Emmett Johnson through 13 rounds so far. All right, we are 2 picks away here. That little pocket of quarterbacks did go off the board, leaving Daniel Jones, McCarthy, Brissett, that group of guys there. Kamara still sitting here. And I think it's kind of a no-brainer, Alvin Kamara. We're just taking basically ADP falling running backs at this point. And then that gets us up to 5 running backs. So we've really taken a handful of shots here after waiting for quite some time. And I feel definitely a lot better about the running back room. So now we can kind of take, you know, whatever's best available for our build, QB3, tight end 3, whatever just makes the most sense in these next few rounds. All right, a little run on tight ends there. So I think I've heard reports that a lot of teams are interested in Isaiah Likely. He might get a nice bag in free agency. So I think we grab tight end 3, Isaiah Likely here. And then we'll have to see what QB3 looks like. We might take a shot on a youthful guy. We'll see. But I like I like where we're at. Kraft, Kittle, and Likely is like a nice balance of veteran, you know, higher upside guys. I think definitely a good slot to grab Likely there. All right, 2 picks away here. You know, that bottom tier of quarterbacks kind of going off here in the 15th round, which just feels crazy early for those kind of guys. But I get it with everyone wanting to draft that many. Although with that being said, Daniel Jones is still here, so that'd be almost a 3-round ADP value. I think that'd be an auto pick. If he gets picked here, we'll probably grab one of these wide receivers in this range. Yeah, Daniel Jones, ADP 151. We are grabbing him here at pick 187. This is the team of guys coming off of major injuries. Neighbors off the ACL. We've got Kraft off the ACL. We've got Kittle off the Achilles. And we've got Daniel Jones off the Achilles. So probably not great. You probably want to limit your exposure on the same team to these kind of guys. But we're just getting the ADP values right now. So we are just going to scoop those up. We now have our 3 QBs, 3 tight ends. I think I'm safe just, 3 of those, at least for this particular team. We probably should hit back on wide receiver. We'll probably just finish with a nice 3-7-7-3. A nice even build. Despite being hero RB, I feel like we caught up enough with some guys of safe floor and then some higher upside guys. Especially through, rounds 12 through 14, the rookies and Kamara, I think really kind of helped save this team, give us a lot of choices for our RB2 score on a week-to-week basis. All right, we are here on the clock. Trey Harris at the top of the ADP list. This guy I was hot on, since cooled off, considering Keenan Allen might be back. Let's see. Actually, we're gonna pivot. We're gonna go Brian Robinson, who is a free agent, and I think he might get a decent little deal. If not to go back to San Fran to be McCaffrey's backup. I think another team will kind of want his services. Should be fresh considering he didn't have a ton of workload last year. And I really think running back drops off, pretty quickly here. So we'll do Brian Robinson Jr., then we'll grab a couple late flyer wide receivers, perhaps some rookies who are potentially going to be rising up draft boards. All right, couple picks away here in the 18th. Looking back earlier, perhaps instead of Likely, we should have went Ferguson just to pair it up with Stafford. I like both guys. I think they both have upside. Likely hitting free agency is kind of exciting just because some team will probably pay him pretty decently. But I like Ferguson as a second-year breakout. And we might just get Trey Harris to fall back to us here. We're just scooping up. This has been the team of scooping ADPs because that would be another almost 30 ADP faller. Also, rookie Zachariah Branch is interesting. Brazel is interesting. But staying true to who we are, if Trey Harris is there, we will grab him. And then we will queue up Branch, queue up Brazel. Hopefully one of those guys can be our final wide receiver. And guys who I don't mind taking shots on for our final running back, Katron, Claiborne, I think is going to be a riser at the combine. And we can look at Randall and Hemby. I want to grab some more youthfulness. I know we already have a couple rookie running backs, but with the Hero RB build, I want to take shots on guys who can have quite a big role, later into the season. All right, we are one pick away. Branch does go, so let's go ahead and grab Brazel since we have, a plethora of rookie running backs to choose from in the 20th. And then we're going to take a look over here at Kickalicious to see how he finished off his Hero RB build. So he went Lamb, A-Chain, Brown, Flowers, Waddle, BTJ, Pearsall, Monungai, Baker and Shuck, Jake Ferguson, Benson, Jordan Mason, Braylon Allen, JJ McCarthy, Terrence Ferguson, Bigsby, Mike Washington Jr., and he's got a couple of picks to go. Pretty solid Hero RB, team to me. I think we both executed well, and I think that's why, it is a strategy that people have really liked in previous years, and I think it'll, stay true. I know running back is kind of more into the fold. People are wanting to load up on running backs, but I think there's still something to be said for the Hero RB strategy. It really boils down to hitting on some of those later running backs, as really it does for any build. All right, we are on the clock for our final pick. All of our rookies made it around, so we are just going to grab Mr. Damon Claiborne and our finish roster Hero RB build: McCaffrey, Neighbors, Higgins, Devontae Adams, Luther Burden, Christian Watson, Kraft, Stafford, Love, Montgomery, Kittle, Jonah Coleman, Emmett Johnson, Alvin Kamara, Likely, Daniel Jones, Brian Robinson Jr., Trey Harris, Chris Brazel, and Damon Claiborne. A nice rookie-heavy team right before the combine when all the rookie prices, not all of them, but a lot of rookie prices will go up. They'll shoot up draft boards if they test well at the combine. Some guys, of course, who don't test well will fall down. But if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. If you're liking this early best ball content, we have plenty of content around the combine, draft, free agency coming up, and other stuff for redraft. So smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Comment down below if you like the Hero RB build this year, or if you're kind of sticking to grabbing more running backs. With that being said, thank you so much for the support. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.